Another episode of Lamont Unlocked at Folklore with Tess. How are you?
Good. I thought you were going to call me a character again.
Did you like that?
I like that. I need every customer and friend to call me that from here on out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know what response you got from your first appearance on Lamont Unlocked, but I got a lot of response. In fact, I was told we need more Tess.
That makes me feel so good.
I don't know how it makes me feel. Like, it's like, yeah, you're good, but can you get more Tess into the chat?
Chris, it's nothing to be ashamed of. I am just like a chatty Cathy. I can't help myself. So really, that's all it is.
Well, I've got my cappuccino. You have your coffee as well, and we're going to sit down. We got a great guest today on the show, and we've got beautiful sky out there today. I was thinking about that as I was driving into Lamont, that normally February is so overcast.
Yep.
And we've had just, for some reason, so much sun in February. And now we're getting to March, and, you know, March is when everything comes alive. Mm-hmm. March is when you have, the St. Patrick's Day hits and all the partying and the festivals and the parade and things like that. And I would imagine that's exciting for you.
I love it, especially because the parade comes right down Main Street. So we have front row access to everything that happens. The parade's coming up on March 8th, so first Saturday of March, and I can't wait. Everyone just comes down here. It's so fun, so festive, and everyone is just jovial. It's great.
It's such a kickoff, really, to the spring. I mean, I think that's the thing. Like, if you're not from this area of the country, you don't realize that spring really starts, for some reason, with shamrocks and parades.
Hey, you got to get your shamrock shake, and that's the very first day of spring is when the shamrock shake is available, right?
I wasn't even thinking shamrock shake.
That's immediately where I go. I'm like, spring is here.
And then it warms up a little bit, and that's the thing. There's a lot of places in Lemont for those that like to be outdoors, and that's got to be coming back soon too. Yeah,
I'm super excited about that. I'm like a huge walker. I love biking, and I feel like a lot of people don't really know about the trail system around here. So we have the I&M Canal Trail and the Centennial Trail. Both are great for walking and biking. And if you haven't been there yet, the Heritage Quarries is also home to the Forge, which is an outdoor recreation center. You can rock climb, zip line. Even in the winter, they have ice skating, and they do such a good job of making sure that we have outdoor access year round with really fun and cool activities. I love it there. It's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as it warms up, as the sun continues to stay out, as things get more active, Lamont is going to be a great place for people to come to if they're not from here, and it's going to be something where all the people of Lamont are going to be very excited to get out.
Yeah, I think next week we have like 40-degree weather, so you're probably going to see all of Lamont out on one of those trail systems at some point. So I'm really excited.
Another thing, if you met somebody from Florida, they'd be like, 40 degrees. Yeah. I'm not leaving the house, and here I'm going to be in Bermuda shorts.
Yep, I was going to say we're all going to be in shorts and short sleeves. So it's going to be a wild adventure next week for sure in Lamont. I love it. Awesome.
Well, again, like I said, the mandate is more tests. So you're going to see lots more tests on Lamont Unlocked.
Cheers.
Cheers. Lamont Unlocked at Cornerstone Tavern, and Nancy and Terry run this place. Nancy's the one that wants to get on camera. Terry's like, I'm standing off to the side. How are you?
I'm doing great. Nancy isn't the one that wants to get on camera. Nancy is the one that has no choice but to get on camera. Terry's not a camera guy. Doesn't love the attention.
How long have you had this place for?
We just had our 6th year anniversary for our lease signing. We opened up July 19th in July 24th, in 2019.
Yeah.
So it'll be 6 years this summer that we're open.
And I'm always impressed with the businesses that open right around then, because you don't get your feet wet and you run into like the most challenging thing in the world in 2020 and for the next couple of years after that.
Yeah.
Do you feel better about this now? Because I'm sure you were a little nervous back then.
Well, it definitely catapulted us and everybody else in the town to figure stuff out pretty quickly. Gratefully, by the grace of God, the people of Lamont.
Yeah.
And literally those are the two reasons why we're still here. We are so grateful for both, and in that order. So we figured it out pretty quickly. We also were smart enough to, and we don't claim to be smart, but we're also at that time smart enough to surround ourselves with really great employees that had some experience in the business, and not with COVID, obviously, but just in the business. So we leaned on them a lot, and we're grateful for them. Some have left, some are still here, and we're super, super grateful for that.
One of the things we're going to be talking about today is the history of limestone in that industry here in Lemont, and your spot is perfect for it because there's a ton of it. You got it here on the wall. I think the bar is limestone.
The bar, so the bar is actually, we did the tile on the bar, but behind the bar, which we tile over, there is actual limestone, the same as this. Our basement also has limestone all over. The building is mostly structurally limestone.
And when you come walking in here and you're opening up a place, is that something where you sit there and say, this is awesome, this is why we want to do it?
Literally. Yeah. When we walked in, there's a long story how we got here, but essentially the end of that is when we walked in and saw the limestone. It was so beautiful. There's a very funny story, and I'll make it as quick as possible. But
take your time. It's a podcast. Joe Rogan goes for 3 hours. We'll be fine.
Yes. All right. Well, then here we are.
Go for it.
All right. I had already had one beer, and I'm on my second. We're good to go. I really wanted our bar to be tiled because of the limestone. I thought the background was beautiful. So it's an oak bar. We kind of refurbished the bar that was here already, but I wanted the tile, and we were pretty strategic about picking it out. To my husband's dismay, he did not want to pay for the bar to be tiled the way it looks, and he misunderstood the quote gratefully from the guy that did the tile on the bar. We got it. It all worked out. It looks beautiful, and the backdrop of the limestone and the bar being tiled looks pretty cool as far as I'm concerned.
This is why I like interviewing couples that own a business together, because here you are, you're just taking the opportunity right now to be like, he didn't want it, he was wrong. He was totally wrong. Look how great this bar is.
The funniest thing is, I think he was grateful after for the way it looked, and we get a lot of compliments on it. I still think he was probably right financially, but whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah, we'll give him that. He was definitely smarter. Of course, I'm a female, so I'm like, it looks prettier, and he's like, it costs more.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful bar. It's a beautiful restaurant.
Thank you.
I was just in here a couple of weeks ago. I just stopped in for lunch, and I had the Nashville hot chicken sandwich, which is one of my favorite things here. Yeah. We have some other ones, though, that we put out here to kind of show off on the show. So take me through what you brought out here today.
Okay, so we have our fried bologna sandwich. So...
bologna sandwich?
Yeah, it's a fried bologna sandwich.
Fried bologna sandwich.
Sandwich. My family on both sides were from the South. My mom's side were all from Kentucky. My dad's side were all from Southern Illinois. So when I grew up, like a lot of people in the Midwest, though, we had a lot of comfort food. So when we decided to do this, our intention was to do elevated bar food with a southern flair. We went through so many different types of bologna, so many different types of bread, so many different recipes to try to make a fried bologna sandwich because I really, really wanted it on the menu. My chef actually said, like, I just don't think this is going to work out. Let's just give up. And I was like, no.
What's crazy about it is if I looked at it on the menu, and I'll be honest with you, I'd be like, bologna?
Right.
Like, I wouldn't be sure about it. But you look at this thing, and I'm going to lift it up real quick for the folks on the camera. I mean, look at the bread on that thing. And the color, and just, I mean, that looks like a high-end sandwich, which I would not expect from bologna.
Well, and I'm going to tell you this, so I'll give my bread company a shout-out, but all the bread that we get daily bread deliveries. Okay. There's no preservatives. We never freeze it. They never freeze it.
Oh, I love that.
So the bread is a huge transfer for all of our food, and that's a ciabatta bread that we use, but I think that's such key. And the bologna we use, and, you know, they ended up making, we do our spicy mayo on it, which we make in-house. Most of our sauces are made in-house. But the bread is definitely key to it, because we tried Texas toast, we tried white bread, we tried to do all the things. And when we ended up on this ciabatta, it was like we sealed the deal with that.
That's
it was
amazing.
Awesome.
That's amazing. Now, the side is something you're famous for, if I remember right from the last time I was here.
So that's another story, which is funny. You're going to get all my stories today. Great. I apologize in advance. So they're cracklins. Essentially, they are parboiled potatoes that we smash and then fry. They are a southern thing as well. My oldest daughter, lives in Tennessee, and I had experienced them in Tennessee, and I brought that back. And then they did them differently, but my chef said, we're from the Midwest, we have to load them, which we did. But that was very, very big trial for us, because trying to parboil something and not make it mushy and then fry it.
Right.
So for the first couple months we were open, every time an order would come out, it was inconsistent. Like, they finally figured it out to, cool it off quickly, and then that's how we can end up making it have some validity to it, essentially, because it was mush all the time. And my chef finally said the same with that, like, we're just going to give up. And I'm like, we're not giving up on that.
I love this. You're like, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up on the food. I'm not giving up on the bar. I'm not giving up on anything.
No.
This, the fish tacos, I will tell you this. I'm a fan of fish tacos ever since I used to morning radio all over the country. When I was in Southern California, I became a big fish taco fan. It's like a thing that they do out there. So I'm always curious what some of these fish tacos are like. Tell me about yours.
So when my husband and I opened the restaurant, we essentially had a menu that we completely had in our mind. We actually hired our chef months before we opened, and he and I, while we were doing the build in the restaurant, spent all the time every day, Monday through Friday, downstairs talking about all the things we need to do, meeting with vendors. So he had things he brought to the table. He had been in the business for 30 years. And he was like, I really, really want to do fish tacos, because he worked in Florida for years.
Okay.
And they are his recipe. And I have to tell you, we sell so many of them. So we do them 3 different ways. Right now we have them beer battered. The beer battered is super lightly battered, never makes you feel full or achy afterwards.
That's the key, because you got the shell and everything.
Yes, no. And we do them, our staple is on the flour tortillas, but corn tortillas are also an option. And then we make homemade pico de gallo. We do the homemade avocado sour cream, and we make our coleslaw in-house as well. So it's a jalapeno slaw that we put on there.
It's all fresh here, is what I
Every
noticed.
single
Everything,
thing we make for we are probably a 95% scratch kitchen.
Wow.
And so, and then even our chips, those are ours. We deep fry them in-house. Our salsa is also made in-house. They are our biggest seller. And then we have 2 other options. We have our grilled or our blackened. For me, beer battered, then blackened, then grilled.
Okay.
But, depending on your diet restrictions and all the things that you have.
That's awesome. I love that. And then I can wash it down with what is this? This sugary delight that you have in front of me.
So this is our Bananas Foster milkshake.
Okay.
Our staple is boozy milkshakes, our hot chicken sandwich.
Is this boozy?
It's boozy. Yes, and you will be drinking that.
So what do you put into it?
Shannon.
So what do we put into it to make it boozy? Like, what alcohol do you put inside of this?
We put Captain Morgan rum.
Okay.
And we put, oh my goodness, I'm having
I love this. You're bringing somebody in with a straw because she's insisting I try it.
I want you to try it.
Thank you so much.
Rum, and we do banana Foster. Yes, give me all the ingredients, because I'm actually having a brain fart right now, of course.
What are the ingredients?
So the Banana Foster is the Captain Morgan rum, and then Cinnamon Toast Crunch is Fireball and rum chata.
She's giving you all of it. So essentially, yes, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
He wanted to know this
Wow.
rum. So that is what
really
it is,
good.
basically. It's the
That's
Captain Morgan rum.
insane. Thank you.
And we do a banana non-alcoholic.
Yeah, why would you want the non-alcoholic?
Thank
though?
you, Shannon.
I mean, seriously, why would you want? I mean, that's spectacular. That's
Thank you.
amazing.
That is actually that was a milkshake
Wow.
we opened with. And it's probably one of our biggest sellers. We also have a maple bourbon, which I'm a huge fan of. That's our bullet bourbon with our maple syrup in it.
You gave me that last time I was
Yeah,
here.
that's so good.
I remember
it's
that.
one of my very, very favorites. But we make this non-alcoholic as well, so I think it's probably why people really like it.
Yeah.
It's good. And it's pretty. And we rim the glass with caramel, and we put cinnamon on the top.
That's awesome.
And
Listen,
it's all coming back to me now.
the food here is spectacular. The bar is amazing.
Thank you.
Limestone, we're going to talk a little bit about that with our next guest. But every time I come in here, it's wonderful. I was just telling you, like, you didn't even know I was here a week or two ago. Just
did
popped
not.
in for lunch.
Yeah.
I like this place. It's one of my spots here in Lemont, and I really appreciate it, Nancy. Thanks,
Chris,
for
we appreciate you so much coming out. Thank you so much.
Oh, cheers. Well, we'll do that. What the heck? We got the beers.
Yay! Yes. Thank you so much.
All right, Lamont Unlocked with Kevin Barron, who's got the South Cook Explorer. I would say Instagram's like your number one thing, right? Are you on any other websites or anything like that?
Just my own site and Instagram. That's the top two at this point.
Yeah, and you have combined with Jason Berry, a guy here in Lemont, and done a few historical books, including this one. You did one here in Lemont, if I'm not mistaken, before, correct?
Our Lemont book came out for the 150th anniversary of the I&M Canal. Or 150th anniversary of the founding of Lemont, or the incorporation of Lemont. There we go.
There you go.
Third time's a charm. So that was a fun book to get to do with him. And before we had even had official approval on that, I remember him turning and looking at me and said, we're going to do a Blue Island book eventually, too.
Oh,
right?
You got one of those coming out, too.
So,
I mean, you're
next
all over
couple of weeks, book number 2's out.
You're a historian. It's nice to meet like local history buffs, people that know a lot about the area. We're going to talk about the limestone industry in Lemont because it's a
fun one.
That's something that like helped build this town,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, like
that's our claim to fame out here.
The way I understand this is there was limestone from here all the way out to Joliet.
Sure.
But this place and with the canal was closer to the city. So a lot of the things that are built in Chicago, the limestone's from Lemont, and then of course you have all these historic buildings right here in Lemont, correct?
So Jason was the one that did a ton of research on that in specific, and he was the one that came up with finding the receipts of every contractor and every builder in Chicago and who they were getting their limestone from. And he was finding records. I remember walking into his office one day and he goes, hey, just so you know, William Boyington, when he was doing the Water Tower Place or the Rose Hill Cemetery, it came out of quarries 4 and 6, which would have been these two quarries along the canal here. And they completely priced the Joliet industry out of the market so that Lemont limestone would be the number one limestone in the region. And not only that, but one of the biggest quarry owners in Lemont, which is Horace Singer, his uncle was the one that invented the Singer sewing machine. He became a Cook County commissioner right after the Chicago fire, and he made sure that Lemont limestone rebuilt Chicago, not Joliet's.
Wow, that's really interesting. So this industry, like when is it at its peak? Like we know there's a lot of buildings around Lemont, including this one, that have limestone as part of their structure, and we know of, like you said, there's a lot that was part of the rebuild of Chicago. When is the peak time when Lemont was digging up, producing, getting out all the limestone?
I'd say between 1865, 1870 to end of the 19th century would be about right. After the 19th century, we saw the shift towards like Indiana limestone become a little bit more prominent. So the last building in town that I know of that was built with Lemont limestone was 1896, and that sounds about right for what we would come up with on our research about how long that market had really lasted for big dimension cuts to build buildings with.
We talked on a previous show about the canal, and we know that that's how things were being shipped back and forth, and the importance of the canal growing Lemont. But the limestone industry has to be, if not the biggest reason for its growth, one of them, correct?
Sure. I mean, it was this in our Smoky Row Historic District, but limestone was definitely our big producer, our big product to be able to generate from Lemont. And before Lamont's official Lemont naming, it was called Athens because we had Athens marble. When that limestone was cut, it was so bright white that it looked like marble. And as we had talked about before, dolomite is aging a little bit, or it's older than limestone that's found elsewhere in Chicagoland, and it ages a little bit different with the chemical reactions that it has, so you get a little bit yellower, buttery color of limestone or dolomite limestone that we have here behind us, compared to some other limestone properties that we see in Chicago.
So is there one company doing it all? Are there competing companies in Lemont? What's the structure when they're doing this? Is there one guy's got an area over here where he's doing it, somebody else over here is doing it as well?
It starts off that way, and things change over time. So we see that like east of town towards Sag, it's a little bit more brittle, and that doesn't get used for like building cuts. It's more like a fill. We'll see like in railroads and stuff, but as you move further west, you start seeing larger cuts of it that are able to be used for like the cornerstones of a building. So there are some nice sized large pieces of limestone that are in this area, and different quarry owners would buy out each other and take over other plants, and it was constantly shifting. So nobody actually called the quarries that we worked for. I work for Walker Quarry, I work for Singer Quarry. They'd say I work for Quarry 4, or I work for Quarry 7. They just go by numbers because companies would change so often that it was easier to keep track of it that way.
While we're sitting here in Cornerstone, like, I know why they love this, the aesthetic and the way it looks, and it's just beautiful
over
right?
here, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. But were people building with limestone because it just wasn't flammable? Like, what's the reason for a building like this? Is this more practical to build, or is this this is fancier?
It was kind of a combination. I mean, limestone definitely has its own appeal, but it was unique to our area, and it wasn't something that was available everywhere. Blue Island was able to do some limestone quarrying, but they're a brickyard capital. Like they're known for their clay pits that are in that area. And Kankakee was another one that was notable. Naperville had some quarries. I believe Wheaton did as well. But as you move further outside of Chicago, or the farther south or west you go outside of Chicago, the more limestone availability you start to see. And I think it was just the commonality of it was available. Why not? We can dig it out here. We can build with it. It's the thing to do.
You know, Kevin, South Cook Explorers, your Instagram, which is really interesting because you go and you find very, like, either forgotten places, cool places all over Cook County, South Cook County. So you've traveled around this area a lot. Do you find more limestone builds in areas where they were actually producing the limestone, or no?
For sure. There's like a cutoff at the prehistoric Lake Chicago borders, practically, where you stop seeing limestone and start seeing brick buildings. And everything that's east of LaGrange Road from us, then you start seeing a lot more brick and a lot less limestone. But as you move west, or you move further into the south, you start seeing more of that limestone that's present. So I think that was just the materials that were available locally to you, and that's what you built with.
Except for when they wanted to get fancy in Chicago, it sounds like. Yeah,
they found ways to make that work, for sure.
That's awesome. We got some great food here from Cornerstone. I'm going to give you your choice here. So, what are you? Were you a fish taco guy? Fried bologna? What are we looking at? Fried bologna?
We're doing the tacos.
You're doing the tacos? They're all yours, buddy. And we're going to sit here and enjoy a beer and enjoy Cornerstone Tavern and the beautiful limestone that's here. Is there a spot here in Lemont that you think is like a just perfect spot to see a limestone build? I mean, I know you explore a lot of these buildings. Is there something somebody should definitely check out besides Cornerstone?
Cornerstone's a definite highlight for sure. Lemont Historical Society, gotta highlight them.
Okay.
1861 limestone church. It was donated limestone from our town. The churches are highlights. I mean, that's our achievement right
Churches
here.
are the ones right there.
That's what you got to see.
Yeah, awesome. Kevin Barron from South Cook Explorer. The name of the book about Lemont, do you remember the title of it?
Images of America, Lemont. So,
and they can get that at any bookstore?
Any bookstore. We've got it available local stores in town too, so available to pick up, and all book royalties are donated right back to Lemont Area Historical Society. So thanks for helping them out.
That is awesome. Thanks for coming on Lemont Unlocked, my friend.
Thank you.